9,000 fans pack into BT Con Reserve as Preston defeat old rivals South Melbourne. Hawthorn and GWS get their AFL season started with huge victories, and Melbourne United take a 1-0 lead in the NBL finals, but will they have enough to beat the New Orleans Pelicans in October? This is Sportswatch. Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Sportswatch. My name is Tin Nguyen. Joining me as always is Lachlan Sheriff. Sheza, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Tin, how are you?
I'm doing well. I reckon we just jump straight into it with probably one of the biggest stories in Australian sports and in Australian football going around right now. We'll start with some NPL, and of course, I mean that cracker at BT Con Reserve, Preston vs South Melbourne. I was fortunate enough to be there, but I think even for those who weren't there, I think everyone had their eye on the game and kind of saw this game. So I think I'll just ask. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Look, what more could you possibly want? That was maybe the best day of NPL we've ever seen in any state, in any league so far since the introduction of this tournament. I mean, look, how many people were there? Over 9,000. That is incredible for a semi-professional game. There was an A-League game in Melbourne that same night, and the fans at Preston absolutely smoked them in that regard. So, look, incredible turnout. I think that's definitely what they were expecting. I don't think it was necessarily a surprise. I think we all knew there were going to be a lot of people interested in that game who wanted to go. But nonetheless, how good to see it come off. And in terms of the game, yeah, great win for Preston, 2-0, pretty routine. Two straight losses now for South Melbourne. I believe they sit 7th now, so I'll have to pick it up a bit. But no, great game and incredible turnout.
Yeah, of course. And you mentioned it for South Melbourne. Obviously, like you mentioned, it's their it's their second loss in a row, their third straight game without a win. So obviously, it was a big game for them coming into it, but now they're struggling to find some form. So but we'll talk about Preston for a minute because obviously this is the big story right now. I mean, 6, 7 years ago they were playing in State League One, which is incredible to think about how far they've gone. And I mean now they're playing in front of 9,000 people. They're into the Australian Championship as one of the inaugural teams, and it's just an incredible comeback story for a club that has gone through so much in the 21st century.
For sure. And look, no one deserves to be where they are. You have to win those games to be there. But even when they were struggling, they were still getting good crowds, and you just felt like this team should be an NPL Victoria. Even if they don't have the talent for it, fine, they haven't earned it, but still, this team deserves to be here. I'm so glad they're finally back in here. Even not just this game, obviously it's their best turnout by far, but even other weeks, we've seen them pack it out, probably be the best fans in the league. So I've been so impressed by that. It's so good to have them back, and yeah, look, they're playing good football at the minute. I think that's 3 wins, 2 draws. I think they're second, just behind Avondale, who are on fire. So look, they're playing great football. I think they're definitely contenders to win it all at the end of the year. I think, yeah, just a great start to the season for them. I don't think their return to the top flight could have been any better.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, this weekend they do have that big top of the table clash against Avondale at Avondale, which will be absolutely a tough challenge. Will probably be their you could argue this is probably their biggest game of the year. Just from a tables perspective. Obviously, it'll be huge for implications of not just the league, but of course the championship as well. We saw, but speaking of the championship, obviously, there's a lot of hype coming into that, especially after this game. So, do we think this has was that a preview of the championship? Do we think this is what's to come for not just Preston, but for all the other clubs in the championship as well?
Yeah, look, the people behind the championship, Football Australia, everyone doing that, they were watching this game very closely, and they knew that they needed a big crowd, they needed a big spark here, a big statement to really show that, okay, the championship is legitimate, the championship will be around for years to come, and they got it. Look, again, not every game in the championship will be like that. Obviously, how many people will go to where Preston playing away in New South Wales, fine, maybe that's not going to be as big, but I think once you get, once you get in-state games between, Preston and South Melbourne again, or Avondale, or you have 2 New South Wales teams playing each other, I think we can get very similar crowds to that. I think it's really going to be a huge spark, and who knows, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe we'll even see big away crowds. I know you've mentioned, you're an Avondale fan, I know you've mentioned travelling up to New South Wales for an away game or two, so look, it definitely could happen, and I think it's just so great that we're finally seeing progress with this, and yeah, looking forward to seeing it pan out.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll have a look at the NPL Victoria table now. So of course, like mentioned, Avondale and Preston up there at the top. Avondale on 15, Preston on 11. It's Oakley and Hume following just behind, along with Dandenong Thunder, all on 10 points. And just on the outside is Heidelberg, South Melbourne, Dandenong City, and Melbourne Knights, all just a couple of points below there. So I mean, as you can see, it's all pretty close so far. Really, I mean, yeah, anyone from Knights up really is fighting for a final spot, and you could argue anyone from Dandenong Thunder to even Hume and Oakley are, realistically could fight for either the premiership or even that championship spot. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on NPL Victoria so far? Obviously, it's very close.
Look, it's been a great first half games. I've really enjoyed watching it. Like you mentioned, Avondale, how good do they look? You've got Preston up there as well. Oakley and Hume, they started a bit slow. They're picking up the pace now. They're sitting third and fourth, obviously. Dandenong Thunder, even when they got Jamie Young, I'd expect them to be this good. So that's very good for them. And yeah, like you said, Heidelberg, South Melbourne, Dandy City, Knights. There's just teams there floating along, definitely looking at that finals. Even St Albans in 10th. Like we saw how good they can be against South Melbourne when they turned on. So you can't even really write them out. So yeah, it's just been an incredible start to this season. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll just mention the bottom part of the table as well. It's Port Melbourne, Melbourne Victory, and Green Gully. And I think I want to talk about Green Gully for a minute because obviously they made some very big signings in the off season. They acquired a former NPL gold medalist, and they made a lot of very big moves that maybe made people think this was the step that Gully needed to take to start pushing for finals. But obviously they're now still looking for their first win 4 weeks into the season. I mean, do we think it's time to write them off? Maybe is Green Gully maybe this isn't their year?
I mean, look, you can't write anyone off. We're 5 games into the season. Now, admittedly, yes, I do think they are probably a little concerned. I mean, like you said, they're, what, 2 draws, 3 losses, I believe. I mean, at their bottom, I think Victory might have the same amount of points as them, but obviously seeing bottom on goal difference. So, look, it's definitely been a rough start, for sure. No one's denying that. But, we've seen teams before. We've seen, like, St Albans last season, how they managed to pick up the pace and survive relegation. So, look, I'm not writing anyone off. Obviously, there is an extra relegation spot this year, so that does make it harder. But, I can't write anyone off just yet. We're still early in the season, and, yeah, just taking it one game at a time for me.
Yep, that's completely fair. We'll just quickly go through the rest of the states now, of course. So in New South Wales, it's the Northwest Sydney Spirit leading the way with Blacktown, Marconi, Manly and Olympic just behind, as well as Rockdale, Wollongong, Apia, and Sutherland fighting for final spots. I'll just mention really quick a big upset that happened over the weekend. Sydney United, who have been, generally one of the better teams in NPL New South Wales, and of course, sorry, championship team, found themselves losing to Central Coast Mariners of all teams, who have pretty much gone the whole year looking absolutely dreadful. So I don't know if you saw any of that, but do you have any thoughts on it, or do you have any thoughts on NPL New South Wales so far?
Yeah, like I said, I'm not, as into NPL, NSW as I'm to NPL Vic, but I definitely saw that upset. That was, very shocking. It just goes to show you again, anything can happen. It doesn't matter whether you're a big club, a small club, whether you're looking at the championship, whether you're odds on to get relegated. This is football, and anything can happen. So that's why, you enjoy watching these games, because there's always that chance of an upset. But, look, NPL New South Wales, what I've seen so far, has also been doing quite well, and, yeah, looking forward to seeing how that works out as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'll just mention the bottom half of the table, which is actually quite insane. It's St George City, St George FC, Western Sydney Wanderers, Sydney FC, Mount Druitt, and Central Coast Mariners, all on 4 points at the bottom of the table, which is, I mean, just ridiculous to look at. But yeah, so that relegation battle will be one to keep an eye on for sure. And then, of course, we've got Northern New South Wales, where Charleston leads the way, followed by Edgeworth Eagles, Newcastle Olympic, Broadmeadow Magic. Um, and then at the bottom half, it's Adamstown, Rosebud, Valentine, and Newhampton, who are still looking for their first point three games into the season. Then over to Queensland, it's Peninsula Power and Gold Coast Knights, Gold Coast United, Moreton City Excelsior, which is interestingly all at the top with 6 points. Uh, and then at the bottom half, it's Brisbane City, Sunshine Coast Wanderers, Wynnum Wolves, and Brisbane Roar, who are all at the bottom with 0 points. Obviously, Brisbane Roar can't get relegated from NPL Queensland, but just goes to show how close that league is at the moment. And then even jumping to South Australia, who've only played 2 games, they've only started recently, but it's Northeastern Metro Stars and Comets both on 6 points. Playford City, Adelaide Croatia Raiders, Adelaide City, Croydon all on 3 points. And then at the bottom of that table, Campbelltown 1 point, Para Hill Knights 1 point, and Belgrade on 0 points. So anywhere you look in the NPL system, it's just incredible like reading all over the place. I mean, some good relegation battles, some solid title fights shaping up, and yeah, I feel like it's just like cinema anywhere you look.
Absolutely. And, like I said, I haven't obviously been able to watch all of it. I do know, I've seen Queensland a bit. Obviously, I have a team in Queensland, not in NPL Queensland, but Unless I follow that a bit, I know they haven't played recently because of the cyclone, which are obviously more important things than football. But that's been good. NPL Northern New South Wales I've seen a little bit of. SA I've seen a little bit of. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of good leagues right now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they all pan out and what teams will make the championship. Because there's definitely spots up for grabbing those.
Yeah, 100%. It's absolutely great to watch right now. And of course, the action doesn't end. NPL WA starts this weekend as well. So there's going to be heaps more action. We've got Australia Cup that's been building across over the country as well. And of course, it's just plenty of football everywhere you look. And speaking of football, I think we'll move on to the A League, which has been exceptionally good in recent weeks. It always is, but I mean, we're looking at something incredible here. Obviously, Auckland FC, who who started this season extremely well, pretty much impressing everyone with how well they've started. I mean, they've been in a bit of a form slump right now. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
I mean, look, this is it's a long season, the A League. Teams can drop off. Teams will win a few games or lose a few games. Either way, Auckland is still sitting on top of the table right now, so that's the team to beat. You look down, there's definitely a lot of hungry teams there. You look at the three Victorian teams, of course. You've got Western United, Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory. They're all a shot. Adelaide United, who are still a shot as well. And then even, the Sydney teams, Western Sydney, Sydney FC. I'd say, and maybe not, okay, maybe not Sydney FC and Western Sydney to win the minor premiership, but I still think there's, definitely a lot of big spots up for grabs everywhere you look in that. So it looks a great table right now. And like you said, Western United are coming. They've got Noah Bodic and Hiroshi Ubasuki up top. That's an incredible duo. City Victory right there as well. So, like you said, I'm not sure whether Auckland necessarily slipping, but still, it's going to be interesting to watch, see if they can hold on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that gap is closed down to 6 points between Auckland and Western United now. But regardless of that, I think the interesting thing is, of course, Auckland, New Zealand team can't compete in the Asian Champions League. That means we've got Western United, Melbourne City, Melbourne Victory, Adelaide, and Western Sydney Wanderers separated by 4 points, fighting for an Asian Champions League spot. I mean, that's just incredible, isn't it?
That's huge. That is absolutely massive. Look, you know, obviously I support City, so I'd love to see us get it done, but either way, there's definitely going to be a good team in the ACL next year. I mean, look, secretly, I'd love it if it was Western United. Like, obviously I want City to win, but I'd love it if it was Western United. They wouldn't be able to play in Tiny, unfortunately, but nonetheless, they're still good to see one of the newer clubs, I think, getting reps there. So, wouldn't like to be Victory, obviously, if there's a rivalry there, but Adelaide would be great, Western Sydney would be great. So, like you said, there's definitely a big spot up for grab with second now, assuming Auckland win the minor premiership. So, it's going to be an interesting race. I'm not sure who wins. Obviously, some teams have played 20, some teams have played 19, so it's a little hard to keep up with who's who, who's where. But look, Western United right now are in an ACL spot, and they should try and hold on to that. So, it could be them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, speaking as a supporter, go a long, long way for the club as well. I mean, we talk about the Asian Champions League as like an event to watch, but like the revenue that brings in, even just for competing in it, is incredible. And I mean, we've all seen the stories of when Wanderers won in 2013. I mean, the prize money, the publicity that it generates, it'd just be absolutely incredible. If I'm not saying that Western United are the sort of team to go on a run, but anything can happen. So we'll stay optimistic. But we'll also just talk for a moment. I mean, regardless if you look at the sort of the middle half of the table, I mean, Western Sydney Wanderers on 31, Sydney FC on 29, Macarthur 25, and Newcastle on 22, who've been picking up some form really quietly in the last couple of weeks. I mean, this race for finals is still wide, wide open.
It is for sure. I mean, like you said, there's a lot of New South Wales teams there who are all gunning for maybe that sixth spot. If you count the top five teams in. Western Sydney are there right now. They're on 31, like you said. They've been playing alright recently. I think I don't think they've lost any of their last five games. So that's big. MacArthur, on the other hand, have fallen off a bit. Obviously, the whole Valley main thing has kind of screwed them over a little bit. They could still make finals, but not sure. But then you look at Newcastle. You're right. They've been playing incredibly recently, and I actually believe they've only played 18 games, whereas most teams are playing 19 or 20. So they have got a couple of games in hand to make up on as well, which could definitely help them. So look, you can't write them out either. Even Central Coast, yeah, they've not been in good form all season, but there's still a chance if a few teams slip up. So definitely, it's a great league right now. It's interesting to see who makes that final spot, and yeah, just really good.
Yeah, 100%. We've got one last match day, which is this weekend, and then of course it's off to the international break, which will be interesting to follow along. I'm sure everyone will be following along the Socceroos on the World Cup qualifying path, but we'll talk about that another time. And I reckon it's time to move on. We'll have a chat about the AFL, which got underway over the weekend after a lot of speculation and a lot of circumstances that sort of affected some other games. But regardless, it got underway. We had two games that got us started. So, Shezza, if you'd like to have a chat with us about that.
Yeah, of course. So as we expected 4 games, we only got 2 in the end. Again, the Queensland Cyclone, again, so it's the more important thing, so we couldn't play those ones. But we still had 2 pretty good games, I thought. Sydney Hawthorn was on the Friday night at the SCG. That was a great game. I think Hawthorn really showed that, last season wasn't a flash in the pan. There's still a long way to go, obviously, but that's a great start for them. I think one player who really impressed me in that game was Will Day. I think he's really taking steps to become one of the best players in the comp. I really do believe that. So, look, good win for Hawthorn. Sam Mitchell did very well. For Sydney, look, they've lost John Longmire. It almost feels like a new era, doesn't it? Because John Longmire was there for a while. Now you've got this rookie coach in Dean Cox, who, doesn't feel like that long ago he was playing. So it does feel like a new era, but with that said, I do think they have the talent to maybe still make finals. Maybe we'll have to see how they go, but I don't think this is too bad for them. The one team I will be worried about is Collingwood. Now, they had a rough year last year because of injuries and age and whatnot, but I thought maybe they could bounce back this year and start off with winning at GWS, and they didn't. And look, GWS is a great team, to give them credit, but it wasn't even close. I mean, the Collingwood players just didn't really look like they were on their A game, any of them. So, look, rough loss for them, but as for GWS, they're on top right now. Obviously, 14 teams haven't played yet, but no, great start for GWS, and yeah, just really good to see footy back in some capacity.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely agree. I mean, we all just love watching the footy. It's great to watch. You mentioned that point on 14 teams not playing yet, and I think this is the great debate on the opening round. I think we might as well throw our hats into it. I mean, there's a lot of opinions on it, and I think losing a couple of games this season has definitely just added to it. So, I mean, do you have any personal opinions on the opening round? Should it be kept? Should it be scrapped?
Yeah, okay, look. So, with our opening round, to be fair to the AFL, you can't really blame them for the Queensland game getting postponed. They couldn't have seen that coming. That could have happened in round 11, round 12. It wasn't an opening round thing. With that said, I am not a fan of the way teams will, get a bye in round 3 and then get another bye in round 12. Like, it just feels a little unfair to me. I mean, like, if anyone could play in the opening round. They've all been training since December. They could all go out and have played last week. It's not a fitness thing there. They get a second bye. So, look, it's a little unfair, but I get the idea. I know they want to promote the game in those, we'll call them rugby states because that's what they are. But, like, the NRL is still, it's not like we get an advantage over the NRL when we play those games because the NRL is still on. And obviously, look, Sydney have been doing well for a while now with crowd. But with that said, I don't think anyone went on Friday night who is a rugby fan and gave this a go because, it's opening round, it's meant for us. I do think it was just a diehard Sydney fan. So I'm not really sure if that business model works. Again, as a Victorian, it's very easy to say, I don't want this because it's not in our state. But look, I think everyone is a bit tired of it. I did see Laura Kane say the other day that it looks like it's going to come back for another year next year. So look, we'll have to see how that goes. Maybe if we get 4 games or even maybe 5 games, I don't know, next year, maybe they'll be a bit better. But as for now, no, they haven't sold me on that after 2 years. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, I'll speak my opinion on it as well. Obviously, I mean, I'm on the similar boat. Obviously they'll throw allegations of Vic bias around, and we're Victorian, so it's obviously you might argue we've got like a different shoe in the mud, but I do agree with you. I personally think, yeah, it's probably not the best to start with what half the league getting underway and the other half just kind of waiting for another week. And then, of course, the half that has played, they get this extra bye at some point early in the season. For me, just from a rational point of sense, like ignoring all business stuff, to me, it just doesn't really make sense because, I mean, why would you want to start your competition staggered and then have to, basically get every other team to catch up, and then you've got to catch them up as well by giving them a bye. It's just from a logistics perspective, for me, it doesn't make sense. But of course, you mentioned from a business perspective. I mean, don't get me wrong, the crowd on Friday night at the SCG was incredible. But like you mentioned, Sydney have been one of the better attended teams interstate for a long, long time. I mean, uh, I again, you don't know how many of those people would have been, NRL fans that didn't want to go. From memory, I think I can't remember if it was. I think it was Sydney. I think it was the Sydney Roosters and the Broncos were playing. Even it was either that night or the night before at Allianz across the road. So I can't imagine that there'd be much overlap where someone would go, oh yeah, let's go to the Sydney Swans game because this is the opening game instead of say this rugby league game, whatever. And again, obviously you see the business perspective in it. Obviously last year when the timing was lined up so that they were playing, so that it was while the NRL was in Vegas. Maybe it made sense. But this year, to me, is just a decision that I don't really understand, like even logistically. So we'll have to see how it goes, especially if it's sticking around for another season. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting talk. It's an interesting thing to think about for sure.
For sure. I mean, yeah, look, like I said, I'm not a huge fan, but, I suppose if it's going to come back, I mean, we're still going to watch the games. No one's boycotting opening round. We're going to watch our team if they're playing. We're going to watch the footy game. So at the end of the day, I suppose we'll give it another chance 2026, hopefully without a cyclone this time.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll move on now to our next segment where we'll be talking about the cricket and more specifically Champions Trophy that was played in India. So of course, okay, let's talk about Australia. Okay, obviously it was a weird campaign. We played the one group game against England, and then unluckily enough for us, every other game that we played got abandoned by the rain, which is just incredible stroke of luck. But uh, we did still qualify to the knockout rounds, where unfortunately we were soundly beaten by India by 4 wickets before. I mean, obviously, let's try and have a talk about this tournament. How do you think this tournament went for Australia as a country and as a team? And more specifically, I mean, is there anything to get out of this, especially with the World Test Championship coming up in I believe June?
I mean, look, it was probably a good shit for team bonding when you consider the fact they had to sit inside for 2 games. But as for the cricket, look, what can you say? Because we didn't play much. The England win, we talked about that last week. Unfortunately, last week we didn't actually get to do a show, but we mentioned that last week. We thought that it was a good win, but what else can you really take when our other 2 group games have been cancelled? So look, going into the India game, I wasn't really sure how that was going to pan out. I did think we had a chance because look, we beat them in Test cricket a bit earlier in the year. So look, did we have another chance? Sure. And I did think it was an awful showing. I mean, I don't know the exact date on the top of my head, but we didn't play for a long time between the England game and the India game. So really, it's a bit hard to get going. But I mean, aside from that, like, look, it was rough to lose to India. We would have loved to have played New Zealand in the final, but I mean, like you said, it's hard to get going when you don't play 2 games. So we've had ourselves on the back. We go again. We've got the one-off test against South Africa next. I believe, like you said, that's in June. We've got West Indies cricket soon in June and July. So look, there's a lot to look forward to. There's a lot to bounce back from. There's a few months off. I'm not sure. If there'll be Sheffield Shield to watch. Some players might go play in England or something. I believe that starts soon. So look, there's a lot of talent to watch. There's a lot of interest over the next few months on what do we do next. We play South Africa. So look, we go again. I think you just have to kind of mark that off as a loss and bounce back.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned that we would have gone a long time without playing games, but an interesting one is we would have is the talk about the travel. Obviously, the tournament was hosted by Pakistan, but this is an interesting debate. Of course, India refused to play there, and so of course they played all their games in Dubai. And obviously, this debate has thrown around this has thrown around a big debate around the cricket sphere regarding whether the tournament was rigged or done in favor of India, who of course are the big money makers for the ICC and for cricket at the moment. Obviously, we won't touch into it completely, but obviously it. I mean, do you have sort of some sort of opinion on it? Obviously, we can't say 100% for sure. Obviously, it's very ungrounded allegations, but I mean, when you've got one team sort of playing, in a separate country where pretty much all the travel they're doing is from the hotel lobby to the ground, I mean, it does give off vibes of some sort of advantage, no?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I'm not going to accuse anyone of match fixing. I'm also in no topic to comment on the India-Pakistan relations, so I'm not going to get into that too much, but I will say this. Like you mentioned, India are the money makers. Obviously, Australia and England as well, we're the big three, but like, then you look at the other teams in that tournament. Like, if Bangladesh or if New Zealand didn't want to play in Pakistan, would they have been given that special privilege? Who knows? But, they're still a very good team. I can't take anything away from that. A little unfair. I know where to travel around, we kind of got screwed over that way, but look, end of the day, like you can't really do much about it. I can't change that. I can't reverse that decision to make them play in Dubai. So look, you kind of just have to just accept it for what it is and focus on yourself. I think.
Yeah, that's a completely fair rationale. Obviously, it didn't stop them from beating New Zealand in the end. Obviously, not much will stop India from winning any games, to be fair. So yeah, congratulations to them, thoroughly deserved. Regardless of what you think. And yeah, a good win for just another one of cricket's perennial winners. But we'll move on now to the NBL finals, which has gotten underway. Obviously, at the time of filming, game two is tonight in Melbourne. And by the time this releases, there'll be a little more information out there. But I'll let you have a talk about it now. Obviously, it got underway. I believe last Saturday. In Illawarra, and it was a massive win for Melbourne.
Yeah, look, I mean, road games are so hard to win, whether it's regular season, whether it's playoffs, or whether it's the finals. I mean, especially in the finals. So that was a good win for Melbourne United because I didn't think they would. For a while it looked like Illawarra would pull away. I believe they had a pretty solid lead at half time. I think it was 10 points. I want to say. So look, I definitely thought Illawarra had this one in the bet, but to United's credit, they bounced back. It was a great second half. I think they've proven to be one of the best second half teams in the league all season. We saw that in their game three win against Perth in the semi-finals, and they've done it again here. So, it was all the stars stepping up. Dalla Vedova got his points, Golden got his, Shea Eli did his thing, so Ian Clark as well. So, look, it was a good win for them. They go back now to to Melbourne tonight, their game two. By the time this comes out, it could be a 2-0 lead. They expect it to be a 2-0 lead. Like, if you can win in Illawarra, why not win at home? So, they definitely expect it to be a 2-0 lead. It could be 1-all. And then Sunday, game three, that'll definitely go ahead. So, that's a big one as well, because either way, either United win the grand final on Sunday, or it's a big 2-1 shift for either team, which will then bring the series back to Melbourne. So, like you said, it's only game one. We can't make too many big overreactions, but no, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how it goes. And yeah, huge win for Melbourne United.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, it's a huge result, and I mean, yeah, of course, coming up, our information that tonight will be absolutely huge. It'll be, I mean, we're hoping it'll be a massive crowd at John Cain, and I mean, yeah, if you can do it at home, where I mean, Illawarra's got one of the most hostile atmospheres in the league, so if you can do it there, then no reason you can't do it at home, where the crowd will definitely be much more on your side.
For sure. Like I said, it's going to be a good crowd. I think I had a look at tickets. It definitely looked like there's been more tickets sold than the game three against Perth, which is great to see. I know weeknight sport is hard. I know you can't take your 9-year-old kid to the city on 7:30 on a Wednesday night, but I really do think that there's definitely a good product there. And again, I recommend obviously if you're not too busy on the Thursday, maybe go out. If you're not, Tuesday night game, if you're not too busy next day, try and go out next season. It's definitely a great league. It's great to support. Again, weeknight games are hard. I know that, but definitely try and support in some capacity because it's a great league.
Yeah, 100%. And it always helps to support our local sporting leagues, which is, something that Sportswatch is just absolutely a massive advocate of. But yeah, obviously, it was announced recently during this week that this would not be Melbourne United's biggest opponent this year. Obviously, the New Orleans Pelicans are coming in October, and that is just an absolutely huge get for Melbourne. Obviously, they're going to play two games, one against the Phoenix and one against United themselves. So, I mean, it's just a huge gap for Melbourne and for Melbourne sports right now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, I'm going to be upfront. I wish it wasn't the Pelicans. I wish we had a better opponent coming. I think aside from Zion Williamson, who might be injured, we know he struggled with injury. I don't think there's too many selling points with the Pelicans. I'm going to keep it 100%, especially when you compare it to the NFL game we're getting between the Rams and the Eagles. So, look, do I wish it was a better opponent? Sure. Do I wish we maybe saw some better players? Sure. But nonetheless, this is the first time an NBA team has ever come out to Australia to play. I think the best thing we compare it to is the exhibition game that Team USA had in 2019 here against Australia. They played twice. Both the games were at Marvel Stadium. I don't think these ones will be at Marvel. I assume it'll be at John Cain, but who knows? It's hard to tell. So, look, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. Like you said, one game against Phoenix, one game against United. So, both games should be good, I think. And, yeah, definitely looking forward to it now. But, if they can beat the Pelicans, which, again, I'm not saying the Pelicans are bad at basketball, but they are one of the worst teams in the NBA. So, they might have Cooper Flag at that point, which would be interesting. But, look, if you can beat the Pelicans, even if it's just an exhibition game, I mean, it'd be huge. I mean, look, we saw Adelaide 36ers beat, I believe it was Phoenix a few years ago. So that does huge things for basketball. I remember people in America looking at the NBL thinking, wow, this team has just beaten the Phoenix Suns. Like, so look, if you can get a result, it does huge things. But yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing it happen.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be a huge game, a huge exhibition. They haven't announced where it will be. It'll either be at John Cain, which is where they currently play, or it could even be at Rod Laver Arena, which is, of course, the main showpiece stadium for the Australian Open, and will obviously hold a larger capacity crowd. Uh, I mean. I mean, like you said, I mean, obviously the Pelicans maybe not the biggest team in the NBA right now, maybe not the best team going around in the at the moment right now, but I mean, you mentioned it. Obviously they've got Zion Williamson, which if he stays healthy, and I mean, he'd be just a massive display to show off in Melbourne. And I mean, yeah, like you say, if any of the Melbourne teams can even give the Pelicans a crack, it'd be incredible. I mean, you mentioned that Phoenix game against the Sixers, 36ers, a couple years back. I remember when that result came through. It was a big day. Obviously, it was pretty upsetting for the Phoenix Suns fans, but I mean, it was just unreal for Australian basketball that day. And I mean, yeah, is there any? I mean, obviously, basketball is a sport that's gotten much more popular in recent months, especially in Australia and in Melbourne, especially amongst the younger demographic, people our age. But I mean, does this have an effect on basketball's growth? Obviously, the NBL has been absolutely going off. The Boomers and the Opals have been extremely good in recent months, and it's only getting better. Does this have any effect on the future of Australian basketball? Can this, maybe kick it into another gear?
Look, Australian basketball is very weird. Like, it's never been as big as the AFL or the NRL. It probably never will be. But it's always usually. I mean, there's been off years for sure, but there has been a steady increase as well. You look back to the '90s, the Andrew Gaze era. Look, we had Luke Longley winning NBA championships. That was very popular, and I think we are starting to see that kind of almost peak again. You've got some great NBA players. You've got Dyson Daniels, might win Defensive Player of the Year. We've got Dante Exum still hooping over there. Ben Simmons, I know we've struggled a little bit, but he's looked alright on the Clippers actually. So there's definitely the NBA talent. Then you look at it from the NBL side, we've got incredible crowds, incredible players, incredible games. So like you said, this is just huge for Australian basketball, and I can't see why the Pelicans coming out here would hurt. I think it's great that we're going to be able to see some NBA players. Hopefully Zion, if he's still on the team, is healthy. Maybe we'll have Cooper Flag if they get the first pick. Who knows? But no, it's definitely going to be good to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it helps. Might even create some Pelicans fans in Melbourne, which would be interesting because that's how people get into sport sometimes. So that's definitely something to look at as well. But like you said, this has been huge, a huge increase in the last few years, probably post COVID for Australian basketball, and yeah, the Pelicans probably going to help that.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely a really big possibility. It has a really big possibility to grow the game, and it has definitely a big possibility for basketball in Australia as well. And got to mention this one before, but I reckon we'll just do it now. Obviously, I mean, do we have an NBL finals prediction?
Look, United won the first game, so it's very hard to overlook them now. I don't think it'll be a sweep. I think maybe Illawarra get them back tonight and make it 1-1. If not, I do think Illawarra will probably win game 3 if United go back with 2. Like, I can't imagine it being a sweep. Illawarra are too good for it to be a sweep. So I'm going to say they get it done in front of their own fans. I'm going to say 3-1 Melbourne United win against Illawarra.
I mean, yeah, I'd agree. I've got a similar opinion. Obviously, Illawarra have been an incredible team all year. They won the regular season championship. So they're not by any means they are not a bad team. They are an incredible team. But of course, it's playoff Melbourne. They're incredible. But yeah, I'd agree. I'd have a similar opinion. I think it'd be yeah Melbourne in 4. But obviously anything is possible from here. I mean, like you said, if Illawarra win tonight, it throws the series wide open again. So it'll definitely be interesting. And I believe that's all the time we have for the topics today. That's everything we've got on Sportswatch. Thank you all for tuning in again. Thank you all for supporting the show as always. We'll be back again next week with more sports topics. So thank you for watching.
Thanks, guys. Bye.